Stress, defined broadly by the Oxford Dictionary as a state of mental or emotional strain. We all experience it, whether it be in the form of, oh my God, I have a 5-page essay due tonight and tons of math homework that I don't understand. Or in the form of, my significant other just left me, my kid broke their leg, and I don't know how I'm going to pay next month's bills. They're drastically different examples, yet they're both a form of mental or emotional strain. We as teenagers tend to experience stress in the form of the first example, where we have so many assignments that we become these balls of anxiety that will blow up with the smallest of triggers. These balls of anxiety seem to be most commonly formulated in college preparation classes, which we as teenagers feel forced to take in order to place ourselves in a good position for acceptance to college. A 2017 report by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics states that pressures to increase achievement and to better prepare high schoolers for colleges have grown, as shown by changes in coursework. High schoolers are taking tougher and more advanced courses, including those specifically designed for college preparation and credit, advanced placement courses. In the last 20 years, AP participation has quadrupled, with nearly 3 million students sitting in for an exam in 2018. In the last 10 years, IB participation has gone up by 250%, with 18,000 students sitting in for an exam in 2018. The SAT and ACT are no exception to this sudden growth in participation either. Without a doubt, these classes and tests take a lot of time and studying out of a student's day, with many AP teachers recommending an average of 2 hours of study time per day per AP class, on top of the time we must spend studying for these SATs and ACTs. With less and less time to enjoy ourselves, we fall into this cycle. Homework, study, test, repeat, which fails to allocate time to non-academic activities, leaving us in a state of longing for the fun we once had before these classes. This state of longing has been shown to lead to depression and/or anxiety, which is not as uncommon as it used to be in prior years. This should make the positive correlation between intelligence and suicide, as well as intelligence and mental illness, not come as a surprise. On that note, a 2017 report by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics states that 13.3% of teens aged 12 to 17 had a major depressive episode in 2016. That makes for roughly 4 kids with depression in an average size classroom of 30. And that only accounts for those who are brave enough to report it. Because let's face it, none of us want to own up to the fact that we're flawed. None of us want to own up to the fact that we could be imperfect in a society where anything but perfect is unacceptable. However, the data disagrees. The National Alliance on Mental Illness estimates that it is actually 1 in 6 teens who suffers from a form of mental illness every year. Furthermore, multiple studies conclude that teens resort to doing their own research on Google or WebMD when they feel these symptoms of mental illness, rather than confiding in an adult due to the stigma surrounding mental illness in older generations. These older generations are also the ones who have named us the reckless generation. Contrary to that belief, the real reckless behavior is presented when we decide to lock ourselves in our rooms and deal with these symptoms alone. Nothing is more disastrous for children and families struggling with mental health challenges than isolation, says childmind.org. Parents also play a role in this exchange of emotions. A mother on childmind.org stated, even amongst parents and families struggling with mental health challenges, many cringe at the idea of exposure. I learned to be quiet. This quietness is not just limited to this parent. It exists within every one of us. Whether it regards mental illness or another topic that society has placed under the taboo topic umbrella. This quietness is then passed on from parents onto their kids, and all this does is create an invisible wall between parent and child, prohibiting them from speaking about such taboo topics. This wall, once again, exists within every one of us, whether it be with our parents, peers, or counselors. So our mission as individuals of this society is to be held accountable and break down this wall. because the pressures to take academically rigorous courses is not going anywhere. So our only course of action is to work towards stopping the stigma, because someone may look happy on the outside and may be miserable. Someone may be quiet and have the loudest of minds. Every person, every teen is fighting a silent battle we know nothing about. So let's talk. One of my dearest friends went through a battle of her own when she was diagnosed with gender identity disorder, general anxiety disorder, and major depressive episode in the 6th grade, the year I met her. She states, "I had episodes of depression that lasted a few weeks that left me without motivation, bedridden, and wanting to die." Thankfully, I'm glad to say that I was there for part of her journey. And I'll never forget the day she called me and talked to me about how nice her day was and how pretty the sky was that day, and then couldn't remember a single word of that conversation the next day due to the strong medication she was on when she called. It was devastating, to say the least, to witness such a beautiful person not remember such recent parts of her life and react to the news as if it were nothing new. Thankfully, she's a lot better now. Through various treatment methods and medications, she overcame her symptoms just last year, and I cannot begin to describe the happiness I felt when she told me her battle was finally over. We as a society need to come to terms with the fact that seeing a therapist isn't the end of the world. It doesn't make someone a bad or necessarily sick person for seeing one. This is just what the societal system has made of it, and it's taught from a young age. This is our epidemic. We all make up a community, and schools are no exception. So if we all work together to combat this stigma and make an effort to become more aware, we can cultivate a healthier environment, both in school and out of it. Small steps can lead to a greater tomorrow. So start off with something simple, like asking that quiet girl on lunch how her day has been, or reaching out to an emotionally distressed peer. Parents, you can make efforts as well. Ask your kids how their day has been. Ask again in 20 minutes if they give a one-word response and maybe a shrug. Reach out, notice signs, and don't be afraid to speak up. By doing all of this, hopefully, we can remove the stigma, one person and one action at a time. Thank you.